What's up? Urban Politics. It's your boy Fizzed Music coming at ya. Let's go ahead and jump to it like a car and drive. We're going to talk about the cops. We'll talk about the cops and then we'll get into some politics because, you know, that is the name of this show, Urban Politics. But, of course, policing has become quite political lately, hasn't it? All right, so check this out. I was doing just a teeny weeny bit of research on the police. And come to find out, I found out there's a guy, I guess, by the name of Dave Grossman. He's doing like a thing they call it warrior policing. And that's a training video or whatever that these cops are, or the training service, or the guy who's doing the training for a lot of police officers across the nation. And telling cops that they're natural born killers, telling them that killing is not a big deal. Stuff like that. Warrior training, that's not good anyway. You go in these neighborhoods thinking that you're a warrior, like you have to fight against something. Warriors, you know, fight against the enemy. So that's not good. It's bad. They were saying that there's 137 hours that a lot of police officers do go through training, but 8 of those hours on de-escalation and 129 of those hours are on combat training. So really, you're only spending 8 hours on teaching people how to talk out, you know, conflict resolution, talking people how to teach people how to talk things out and stuff like that, or you know what I'm saying, stuff like that. And 129 hours on, firearms and stuff like that. And I do understand when you're a cop, you know, that's a piece of it. Some things could go down. You never know what you're going to come up against. But that's extremely lopsided. How's there only 8 hours given to de-escalation and 129 hours given to combat training? That right there shows you that the focus is on the wrong thing. So that's something to think about. There are different rules for cops, and that's a problem. That's what a lot of these protests that you're seeing are about, these different rules that exist for police officers. What are those? Well, let's go through them. You can't sue a cop. It's hard to sue a cop. You have to prove that something that you're accusing them of has been deemed as wrong in another case. But that never happens because a lot of times these police officers are not brought to task for anything that they do. It's an endless loop. And you can look all this up. Please, I beg of you to Google this because I'm giving you the paraphrase version. I'm giving you the shorthand version. You know what I'm saying? Because I got to run through this real quick. I can't hold you up all day. But go check this out because it's fascinating and it's interesting. And it explains a lot. A lot of these cases that we've seen come and go, you know, your Trayvon Martins, your Tamir Rice's, your Eric Garner's, especially Eric Garner for me because I was real upset. I even went on the show on record as being upset at Barack Obama and Eric Holder thinking that they dropped the ball. But when you go through some of these ways that cops have to finagle their way out of these things, how police unions go to bat for them, we'll get to all of that. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me get back to this. So it's hard to sue a cop. Cops can keep legal documents private. That's ridiculous, isn't it? Legal documents that are going on with them in their case, they can keep those private so that they don't become evidence at a trial or something. That's ridiculous. There's no database on cops. Now, this is changing because I read something today, and there's a sister, she's got a database of cops, like a database of police shootings and stuff like that. That's changed. There's a lot of people who are starting to keep track of this type of stuff, but for years, for obviously too long, there's been no track of this. No track of how many people police were killing, what color they were, what age they were, and we track everything. You know, we track how many people eat Doritos on a Tuesday night in America. Somewhere you can probably find the numbers on that, but we don't have numbers on police violence. So that's, you know, by grand design. So that looks like that's changing. That's good. States throw out old records. I saw something about this. You know, guy was talking about how a lot of these records are old and they're just, taking up space in the back rooms. We're just going to go ahead and throw them out. Really? Are you crazy? How many of them shows have you ever been watching, them cold case files and stuff like that, where they find a person who was a murderer, 13, 14 years ago because they're going through some of these old files and stuff. So that really did not rest well with me at all, that police departments is throwing out old files. Now, I understand needing to make space. And a lot of these old files, probably all of these old files, I'm sure, were kept on paper. I understand that. So what they need to do is hire some people or get some of these cops down the station that ain't doing nothing anyway to get up off their whatever and will actually put their whatever, sit their whatever in front of a computer and load all that information into a computer, because there's no reason these days that we should have rooms full of paper. We should just have computers full of information, full of this information from years ago. So that needs to happen. So don't throw it. I'm saying to all the police departments, don't throw that out. You hire somebody to input that information into a computer. So we still have that information, because you never know, it could be needed. You don't know what's up with that cold case stuff. All right, qualified immunity. What? Ain't that crazy? When I heard that term, I was like, that's interesting. Qualified immunity. Once again, I'm paraphrasing, but I guess this shields government workers from being sued for discretionary actions done while working, unless their actions violate clearly established federal law or constitutional rights. Isn't that interesting? Let me read that one more time, okay? Qualified immunity is what a lot of these cops have. And they say it shields government workers from being sued for discretionary actions done while working unless their actions violate clearly established federal law or constitutional rights. And I think that we can all agree that that cop, he whose name shall not be mentioned on this show, but that piece of who had his knee on George Floyd's neck, he definitely I would say you know what I'm saying, violated Floyd's clearly established constitutional rights, and that is the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and the right that every man is supposed to be treated equal, even though we're still 3/5 of a person in the Constitution. Anyway, that's beside the point. But my point being, that's interesting right there, isn't it? That needs to go. That's ridiculous. So you telling me that a federal worker can do whatever they need to do in the parameters of their job or whatever, as long as it doesn't, you know what I'm saying, violate clearly established federal law or constitutional rights? And that right there is up for debate, isn't it? That right there says we're going to have a trial to say whether what this person did clearly established or, you know, violated clearly established federal law, excuse me, or constitutional rights. So that, get that out of here. Nobody should have qualified immunity. Right is right, wrong is wrong. If you do wrong, you did wrong, you should be held accountable. And I don't care if you did wrong in the scope of your job. I don't want to. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Excuse me. That's just that does not pass the smell test in any shape, form, or fashion. So we need to be done with that. Moving on. Police unions shield bad cops. Now you always hear about that, like police unions always going to bat for a cop. And police unions are also the reason why there's all types of little laws and stuff like that, to where cops can do all this little funny stuff with evidence and other little things before it has to be released to the public and stuff like that. Some of these laws, like where I guess they were saying some police outfits have up from 24 to 48 hours before they have to release anything. So I guess they could kill a person and then they could just sit around, you know, with their thumbs up their butt for 48 hours and then release some information to the family and then have to release some information to the news. And that's ridiculous. What is that? That's ridiculous. But I think police unions fight for that type of stuff. And police unions protect police, because unions protect their members. Their members are cops, ergo police unions protect the police officer. So police unions are not interested in coming up with laws that are good for citizens. They're interested in coming up with laws and loopholes that are good for police officers, because that is those are their union members. So that's something to think about too. Prosecutors, okay, people like, you know what I'm saying, it's hard for these prosecutors, because it's hard for one hand, you know, a cop does something, now they have to go after this officer, they have to prosecute him, but it's hard to do that because they work with this man or this woman, and they rely on them for evidence, they rely on them for testimony, all types of little stuff. Police and prosecutors, they work in tandem a lot of times, so it's hard for a prosecutor to sit there and be going at a cop that he works with, you know. So that needs to change. I don't know why that they don't just you know, like, look, okay, this is Columbus, Ohio, Franklin County. Let's say we have a cop who does something wrong here in Franklin County, you know, so he shoots a brother for no reason. They should get a prosecutor from, like, maybe the next county, well, not the next county over, maybe the next state over, or somebody who you know for a fact is going to be impartial. I don't know if it could be that simple as just getting another prosecutor from the next state over, next county over, because even that might be messed up depending on who's who and all that, and if they make it political or whatnot. But there should be a way to find out and to get an impartial prosecutor on that case, and that's what needs to happen. We need an impartial prosecutor on these cases where these cops are actually brought to justice, because that's what happens a lot of time too. Because I was talking to somebody a little while ago, and I was like, you know, definitely hold your little horses, because we've been here before, where we're at right now, you know, with George Floyd's killer getting first-degree murder, and I think another charge, I think it was first-degree murder and maybe manslaughter, and then the three guys who were just standing around there twiddling their thumbs while a man died. I think they got aiding and abetting. I don't love that, but those charges I think are bumped up from what it was before for either of them. I think the three guys had nothing at first. Keith Ellis is on the case. Michael Eric Dyson's going to be helping them, so that's big stuff. You know what I'm saying? So we're looking for a good outcome there or whatever. But that's, you know what I'm saying. And see, stuff like that needs to happen. Now you got two people who have some trust. They have my trust. They got some trust. So maybe this thing will come out better. But you got to have that. We can't have these prosecutors who are in bed with these cops, prosecuting these cops, and then the cops don't get prosecuted at all. Nothing happens. They get a slap on the wrist or they don't get nothing. A lot of times they don't get nothing. That's got to change. That's another reason you see the rioting in the streets, because people are sick of that. So that's a little bit of the problem with that. A lot of times these prosecutors and these police officers are cool. They're friends. They work on cases all the time with each other. So that needs to change. It's kind of the same when you go to local courts. Say you go for a traffic fine, or say you was at a bar or something and got into a scuffle with somebody, and you call an assault charge, and you go to court. Your public defender, had a friend of mine, rest in peace, my dude Red, he used to call him a public pretender. Your your public pretender will sit there and they'll work with you, and they'll tell you the whole time to shut up, don't say anything, and they'll handle everything, and they run through these cases real fast because the public defender and the defense attorney, they work together. You know what I'm saying? Or the prosecutor, defense attorney, something like that. These people, they work together downtown. They go to lunch together, they hang out together. So really their whole thing is they're trying to run through cases fast. And that's not to diss them either, to say that there's a lot of people down there who don't care about their job. They have to run through those cases fast because there's a lot of them and there's a little help. So they are running through them fast. So that's a problem with the criminal justice system. But that's the point, that these people are too close. They work together. Ergo, how are they going to be objective when it comes to your case and these other 800 cases they have? And it's a lot of cases, but we still need that objectivity. We need people to be getting a fair shake when they're involved with the criminal justice system. So there's that. Moving on, I think it is time to talk about my favorite thing, politics. Time for the politics. Let's talk about the politics. Trump. Wow, this guy has been in rare form lately. He's sending in the military, which a lot of people do not like. He's had a lot of people come out against him for that. A lot of Republicans blew me away, are like, no, this is not the thing to do. I think it's ridiculous. Today, what is today? Today is June 6th. Watching on the news, some generals have come out against Trump. To straight up turned on him. Mad Dog Mattis, what is that other guy's name? Jim Kelly, I think, or Kelly. You know what I'm saying? He came out against them, and they just, basically saying, Trump's a bad guy. The one guy, what he said, we're seeing with the result of immature leadership for years. I'm paraphrasing, and for years is what it cost this country. That's why we're at where we're at. So that was interesting because Republicans are always billing themselves as the party of the military, saying that they love the military and they're all about the military and they're all about the troops. And Trump always claims he loves the troops and he loves all these generals and he has all this respect for these generals, and he always claims, I could have been a general. I have the instinct and the intelligence, but I just never served. Blah, 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 bone spurs, bone spurs. Anyway, there's that though. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting that they came out against him, but I guess a lot of them have worked with the man and they know that he ain't worth a quarter. And with all the stuff going on and the way that he's just been super insensitive, guys on TV today talking about this is a great day for America, this is a great day for everybody, this is a great day for George Floyd. If George Floyd was looking down from heaven right now, he'd say, what a great day for this country. Man, I wanted to smack the taste out of this man's mouth. What is the matter with our president? Is he that stupid? Yes, he's exactly that stupid. Who says that? How callous. Somebody tell him, hey man, shut up. Keep George Floyd's name out of your mouth. You have not earned the right to speak on that man because you failed that man, okay? All of society failed that man, but guess what? You more than anybody, you failed that man. So don't talk about him. Don't talk about him. I would have rather him said the brother in Minneapolis, or the way he says it, Minneapolis. I would have rather him refer to George like that. Don't say his name, because something about him saying his name kind of sullied it. And the fact that you would invoke it right there in that moment, this is a great day for America. If he's looking down from heaven right now, he's saying, what a great day. That's ridiculous. That was the stupidest, most insensitive thing that anybody could say right now. And who says it? Our idiot president. So, don't get me on my soapbox about that, though. Moving on. My whole thing is, He's calling out the military because his base loves that. They're thinking that's real jazzy because these people still think of him as the law and order president, and he's being tough on crime. And if there's looters, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. So let's get the military out there so they can shoot some civilians. What is that? What is that? And think about that. Now you're going to have military men out there. What if something happens and they have to shoot a civilian, where they end up shooting? I don't think there's any case where they have to shoot a civilian. But let's say there's a case that comes up and they do shoot a civilian. How's that going to rest in their soul? I guarantee you they did not sign up for the military so that they could be on American soil shooting at civilians. So how's that guy going to feel? He got to go home with that. You know, at some point all this is over and all this goes away. I hope that the fight and the vigor that people have to see things change in this country never goes away. But at some point, you know what I'm saying, the unrest in the streets is going to quell. And what happens if there's a soldier who shot a civilian or hurt a civilian? Now he got to live with that. You know, we weren't even at war. It wasn't even a foreign entity. That's not better. Because how about this? I've seen uncles of mine and stuff like that and really be salty about going 1,000 miles away from home and hurting people who didn't look like them, you know, or who actually did look like them, who had, you know, brown skin like they did, and somebody who didn't told them to go do that. And now they still salty about it. And that happened 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. So what do you think is going to happen? You know, when you got an army man, a military man out there who signed up because he felt like he was called to serve, you know what I'm saying, his country, and now you got him out here shooting civilians. And him being a good soldier, he's going to follow orders. So if the order is to shoot, he going to shoot. And then who's going to help him pick up the pieces? You know? You know what I'm saying? Who's going to deal with that? And then he got to live with that. So that's something that we all need to think about. I think that's the most egregious thing when I heard this calling out the military. That's ridiculous. And that's not a good sign. That's not what we need to do. That just amp things up. You need to be bringing things down. Anyway, moving on to the guy who's going to be going against him in 2020, Joe Biden. Mr. Biden, he has come out in support of police reform. A lot of people are talking about defunding the police because they were saying, why is it that we have medical workers walking around in trash bags and stuff like that, but we got, police outfits looking like RoboCop and looking like they're ready to go to war or whatnot. And I agree with that. That's interesting, isn't it? So the funding is definitely going in the wrong direction. So we do need to look at that. I'm sure police outfits, police unions, police officers are not happy to hear that. Talking about defunding the police, talking about cutting their money. No one's happy when you're talking about cutting their money. When you're talking about increasing their money, they're happy. Whenever you look around here, don't they always have these levies, and the police department's always like, we need more money, we need more money. These cats ride around in Hummers and Chargers and all that fresh little stuff, but they need more money, they need more money. And then if you looked at a lot of these videos, I saw them on Instagram, you've seen them too, cops doing damage, some cops even doing damage to their own equipment, their own vehicles. I think they were doing that because they have insurance. So they know insurance will pay for that. So I'm sure it was kind of like, hey, but let me go ahead and bust some windows on this cruiser here. Tomorrow we'll be in a Hummer, we'll be in an H2. Yeah, let's go ahead and bust, you know. Now people are probably like, oh yeah, there you go, thinking the worst of the police. But I'm like, hey, you tell me, I'm not stupid, something's going on here. So I mean, that needs to be investigated. That's not a good thing, you know. But Biden has come out in support of defunding the police. They mad about that. That's actually a switch. Joe Biden, he used to actually have his arm around police and police officers. Not to say that he's got any animosity towards them now, but he's definitely going towards this way because it's a more liberal way of looking at things. And right now, Joe Biden is making the political calculation that he could stay in bed with these police officers, and some of them will vote for him, but a lot of them vote for Trump anyway because they're Republican. But he needs every black vote he can get his hands on. Black people are mad at the police right now. We're not feeling the police right now, so he got to roll with us. So in his mind, that's what he's saying. Politically, I'm not saying this. I'm not saying that anybody is this cynical. I'm just saying this is politically what I think is going on. This is a political calculation. He's saying, hey, let me go ahead and roll to the left. Let me go ahead and roll with these black and these leftist white people who are not feeling the police right now. Let's go ahead and go with that police reform. Let's do all that because those are more votes that I stand to get than rolling over here with the police. Now, I think that's terrible because I think any real police officer should support police reform. If you're a good cop, you should support getting rid of bad cops. If you're a good cop, you should be blowing the whistle on bad cops. Now, I understand there's a culture within the police department that prevents you from doing that because you'll probably lose your job, you'll be alienated, and you may be even hurt or killed depending on what's going on in your department. So I hear all those things. And guess what? Standing up for right was never easy. It ain't never been easy. So if you're going to be about the right thing, you got to be about the right thing. If you call yourself being a cop, being a hero, being a blue boy, and I've met some of those, that means then you have to do all that. I mean, sometimes you got to rat out your brother who might be a neo-Nazi over here, and you know that he's wrong. So there's that. You know what I'm saying? But that's what Joe Biden's doing. Let's see if that political calculation works out for him. It is what it is. They were saying that actually the whole Democratic Party and all of that started moving away from the police, or should I say the police started moving away from them, like with the Black Lives Matter movement, with the death of Trayvon Martin. I've talked about that on this show, how the death of Trayvon Martin is what brought on the Black Lives Matter movement, because there's a young lady who, you know, when it came out that I think Zimmerman had been acquitted or whatever, and I'm paraphrasing all this, you can go look this up. I'm just putting it together. It's happened a long time ago, and I reported on it then, but I'm talking about again. So, excuse me if there's some holes in it. But she had seen that, and she was so moved that, you know, she had put up the hashtag Black Lives Matter, and then she called her girl, and she told her, like, hey, you know, Black Lives Matter, and the girl posted it too, and then it just kind of caught fire, Black Lives Matter. And now, as you see, they have painted it in bright yellow letters in our state capitol right there in D.C., and I'm sure Trump is loving that. Who saw that? I know you had to see that. That was amazing right there. I'm reading an article and they showed it. Black Lives Matter. Oh, I said, what? And then somebody posted that talking about now Trump lives at 1600 Black Lives Matter Boulevard. That is hilarious. I guarantee you he is heated. I guarantee you there's a whole lot of neo-Nazis and alt-right people who are on one because of that. And I just wonder we're gonna see what happens with that, because that's something. But the mayor of DC, I guess they were saying on news, she was letting Trump know who runs those streets. You know, I think she did change it to Black Lives Matter Boulevard. My goodness. So moving on, there's that. You know what I'm saying? So I guess now Democrats are against the police because the people are against the police. It is what it is. Got to get those votes. We're gonna talk about some local stuff. A member of the Ohio National Guard was kicked out for a racist post, right? So I thought that was interesting because this is what we're talking about. This is the type of reform that we're talking about. Whenever you go anywhere, everybody knows who the racist is. White people know who the racist is. They never want to say it. An older black friend of mine, and he watches the show too. I sent it to him. I don't know if he watched. I hope he's watching it. But he had said to me, he said, whenever you go around some white people and there's a racist white person, they would say, oh, he's an a-hole. Oh, he's an asshole. And you'd be like, well, why? What's up? They'll never want to say why. They just say he's an a-hole. They just leave that. And then you meet the guy, and you're like, oh, this is why he's a... Well, they should have told you why. You know, give us a heads up, white people. Don't nobody like to walk into racism like that. They should just let you know, hey, man, dude's racist. Okay, then. There it is. Say it. And white people, that is no reflection on you. I think that's what it is with some white people. I think sometimes when they call a white person out to be racist, they think it's a reflection on them. That's not. All white people are not the same as we have seen. I just saw, okay, I posted it on my phone, Amazon stands with Black Lives Matter. That blew me away. I said, okay, that's cool. Can I get some free Netflix? I'm joking. But that blew me away. So then I seen something on Facebook where, of course, a white woman that came out, she was offended. Something to open up my Amazon account and see that you support Black Lives Matter. That was offensive, and I buy everything from you, and my family and our friends buy everything from you, and maybe we'll decide to not buy things from you, and blah, 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 blah. And Bezos, he came right back at her and was just, and I'm paraphrasing, you gotta go, you can probably Google this, it was so good. He came back here and he let her know, hey, I support this movement. I think you're wrong. I don't think this is divisive. This brings people together. This calls attention to something that's been going on with people of color for a while. He said something about having a son and how he said, I don't worry about my son going out and getting arrested and killed by the police. People of color do. They have sons and they do have to worry about that. So I do stand in solidarity. I was blown away. So there it is. You see what I'm saying? So that's Jeff Bezos calling this woman out. Like, cut the games. And I'm sure he was also like, and hold up, don't come to me like, I'm about to be a trillionaire over here. Are you really coming? At the end of the day, Bezos said, time out. You telling me that, you telling me that you gonna leave? Your people gonna leave? Let me tell you something. Your peoples. Everybody y'all know can leave. Guess what? I'm still on my way to $1 trillion, baby. What do you own? You know what I'm saying? Come on. Jeff Bezos like, for real? You gonna leave? Because I'm staying in solidarity with Black Lives Matter? Then goodbye. I need you like I need a hole in the head. I'm paid. This guy's rolling in it over here. She gonna threaten to leave. That was silly. But see, that also shows you too. But when this whole Black Lives Matter thing started, it created so many waves. I had a lot of black friends who didn't like it, plenty of white friends who didn't like it, and I was like, the fact that people don't like it and they're so bothered by it means that it needs to keep going. These ladies are onto something. These people who started this Black Lives Matter, they're onto something, and they've been onto something. And look where they are now. Now they're in Washington D.C. All right, moving on. Yeah, so there was that right there, and that's why I said that was good. You know, they found out that this guy was racist. They kicked him out. They didn't even say his name. They just put it in the paper that he was a member of the Ohio National Guard, and I guess they were supposed to be going to New York or something, but when he made these racist posts, they found out about it, kicked him right out of there. That's what needs to go on. They said that he was like maybe a member of like some neo-Nazi group or something like that, which made me think, I do actually think, because I have had conversations with white people who actually do not think there are that many neo-Nazi groups, who do not think that white supremacy is that pervasive. Now, a lot of y'all will probably look at me and say, oh, really? White people don't believe that that white supremacy is pervasive? But no. You know what I'm saying? I really do think sometimes you have to feel it. If you haven't felt it, you don't understand it. You know what I mean? You have to be there. You have to be, in the moment. You know, I've told stories on this show about, being different places and dealing with racism and stuff like that. But it's interesting. I was thinking, believe it or not, I have a lot of bad stories about cops, but I also have good stories about cops. You know what I'm saying? There are some police officers and cops that really did help me out. I don't know what to say about that. Different people have different experiences with different people and different entities. Some people will go to the store over here and have a great experience and love the place. Some people will go to the store and hate the place and hate the people there and say that they were so mean and so rude and I'll never shop there again. See what I'm saying? I mean, you just never know. Again, maybe it's the night, maybe it's the day. I don't know. It just comes to my mind real quick. Side note, before all this stuff went down, I had a kind of a lightweight. I had an interaction with the police, a little run-in with the police. But it was cool. You know what I'm saying? There were two younger officers. It was in Gahanna, and they were cool. Everything was fine. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and their demeanor was fine. And I really, glory be to God that, I really like, it could have went a different way. Because like I said, I've been in the presence of those racist cops, and I know what that's about too. But this happened to be one time when, or one of the times when the cops were actually cool. These guys were nice guys. And they even told me, they say, look, sir, you've been cool with us. We're going to be cool with you. You said that, they were like, you ain't tripping or nothing, we ain't tripping or nothing. So that was that. You know what I'm saying? Not just to say that there are good and bad people in all lots. You know what I'm saying? So when I talk about white people, I'm talking about black people. I'm not trying to paint with a broad brush. You know what I'm saying? We're all individuals. Every situation is individual. So that is what it is. But I've told some of my white friends who do not believe that these neo-Nazi organizations are pervasive as they are. I was like, you need to check. There's a man, Bill Riccio, and I think he was he's the leader of the skinheads when he amped up like 4 white teens to kill a homeless man, a homeless African American man. They drug him behind a truck and drug him to death and killed him. I'm not sure if that was in Texas or not, something like that. And then I told him to look, and here's a movie that I love. It's got Ed Norton in it. Ed Norton, I think. American Me. Come on, man, that's a good movie. That's a movie, and that's Hollywood kind of dealing with this issue. But it's a real good movie to check out. I mean, if you want some information about this neo-Nazi thing, how they reach out to people, because in the movie he ends up trying to get his little brother out of it, because when he goes to jail for all the crap he ends up doing with these people and finding out how they ain't got his, I don't want to, no spoilers, but long story short, he ends up pulling his brother out because he learned some things in jail about how these people do not care about him. So that's good stuff. So start your education here. And I just told my boy, I said, man, get some education, man. I said, because you sitting over there thinking these things aren't a thing, they are a thing. I've done the research on them and been blown away. A lot of these groups are in southern Ohio. That's terrible. That's terrible, and it's also terrifying when you're a black man working in Hilliard delivering car parts. You know what I'm saying? And you seeing Trump pen signs everywhere. Let that be the reason why I never ask for directions or to go to the bathroom, because I wasn't trying to take no chances. But there it is. One more thing before I'm out, I want to talk about Franklin County just deemed racism a public health crisis. I love that. Franklin County just deemed racism a public health crisis. We knew it was, you know what I'm saying? It's affecting everybody's health. It's literally affecting the health of black folk right now. We can see from the numbers with this COVID-19 thing going around how, you know, we're maybe 30 or some percent of the population, but we're 70% of the deaths from coronavirus and stuff like that. I'm just pulling these numbers out of the hat. But my point being that there is a huge disparagement between the deaths in the black community and other communities. So that's a problem, and really that's a problem just because a lot of us don't have good health care. A lot of us aren't eating well because we don't have money to eat good, because it costs money to eat good. But then I seen something on Facebook that said, well, it costs money to eat good, but are you ready for that money you're going to be spending because this junk food that you keep eating has made you sick, and now you're in the hospital paying these hospital bills because you've been eating bad? There's something to think about. So that is what it is, but racism is definitely a public health crisis. I remember, everybody remembers the skit from Dave Chappelle, the Nigger Family, the Nigger Family, and when he was in the one of my favorite parts is when he's in the restaurant, and they were saying, nigger party, and he said, hey, that's no way to talk. Oh, and then the white kid went, this Timmy, I think his name was Timmy. And he said, well, after that scene, you know what I'm saying, where it looks like it's an outtake or something they stuck in there, he's laughing and Karen, he's like, this racism is killing me. But it's funny because I'm sure that's exactly how the people of that day feel. That's exactly how we all feel today. There's been so many times as a black person that racism is just really just deflated you. It just deflates you. Just deflates you. I don't know where I was at listening to a comedian talk about it, but he was like, brother, get all dressed up and ready to go out. It was Richard Pryor talking about a brother get all dressed up, ready to go out with his lady, saying you ride to your lady's crib, and then the police want to pull you over because you're in a nice car looking good. He's in it to open up your butt cheeks. The idea. Of course. He being Richard Pryor, he's making jokes, and that's a hilarious bit if you ever heard it. But that was just his point, you know what I'm saying, that these guys can pull you out of your car, demoralize you, just take all your dignity away, and then at the end of the day, they don't even have to say sorry or anything. They just send you on your way, you know what I'm saying. Have a good night, and that's just, it's messed up because, like he said, then after all that, who want to go kick it with that lady or go out to the club, have a good time after all that? You won't do nothing after all that but go home and be mad. Because that's all you can do. So that's got to change, and it's good that we're having a public conversation about it. So once again, we have reached the end of our time. Urbin Politics. As always, if you have any pushback, you want to push back at your boy. You can check me out or holler at me or drop me a line or whatever at fizzedmusic@gmail.com. That's PHIZZEDMUSIC@gmail.com. Holler at me, you know what I'm saying, whether you like something I said, whether you don't like something I said, whether you agree with it, whether you don't agree with it. I want to send a shout out to all the people who watch the show and support the show. If you like the show, please share it with other people, you know what I'm saying. They may enjoy it too, and that's what's up. So I guess that's all I got to say. I'm gonna lay back with a nice adult beverage and watch a little more news and maybe some cartoons and stuff like that, get my mind off the news and all the horrible things going on in the world today, and I'll come right back to it. But until then, you know what I'm saying, take care of yourself and take care of each other. That's Jerry Springer. See you next time. Urbin Politics. See you around like a donut.